I think it's a fascinating situation over there. I always think I'm always into these movements, these
Right.
protest movements, these uprisings. But there's something about what's coming out of Ukraine that I've been seeing, where it's like an evolved form of protest, like we've been taught, like we just spoke about too.
Yes,
They
definitely.
really are doing some of the most creative types of things to to become successful in this protest. I mean, just these stories of these walls being built around the protest
Yeah,
centers.
it's incredible.
The
incredible.
them using like construction type vehicles to block off roads and things, and then like we discussed the maiden tactic. It's unlike
Yeah, it's
anything I've
aston.
seen
I mean, you know what I
in
always find
a
interesting
while.
about some of these movements is that I agree with you. I'm always fascinated by them, and then I'm also, in some ways, what we're seeing, I think, so much is that these movements and protests are so much more innovative, uh, and courageous in a certain sense, and effective in a certain sense, than the governments or the situations that come after them. So it's almost like sometimes, protest movements are pointing forward to some very different ways of going about things, totally different new ways of organizing, doing politics, taking public space. And obviously not to say that there's any like a permanent state of protest, but then it's like then it goes down to, well, what's the next problematic coalition, or how does, or even not the same thing, but how does like Occupy energy get fed into democratic politics or whatever. And I think the next thing that's going to be interesting to look at, obviously, after, like the professor was saying, making sure that martial law does not return to Ukraine. That's like the essential thing that needs to happen right now. And that's what people are risking their lives for at this very moment. But I think even looking forward, it's how does this kind of energy and innovation and kind of just creativity, basically, like you were saying, how does that get sustained and translated into new ways of doing government and new ways of doing politics? That's interesting to me. Obviously, I have no idea, but the disconnect is interesting.
The problem is the people who do these creative, innovative tactics, these innovative forms of their own little governments, really, to be able to
Right. Well, that's
to put these
exactly
things
what it
together.
is. Yeah.
They're never the ones who end up getting in power when these things result in whatever they result in.
Right. And then even when they do, power and the way we arrange things has its own logic. So it's kind of like, how do you? But you're exactly right, and it does point to some pretty utopian ideas about how to do politics, which have yet to really, we haven't figured out how to actually work with them, except in these little spurts, which are pretty amazing. But yeah. But anyways, obviously, it's an incredibly important situation. And I'm glad we had the professor on because the man knew his stuff. The man knew his stuff.